Hi there, this is Skip Shuda with Team and a Dream, and I want to share a framework that we've put together for talking and thinking about human communications on and off the web. Most of this is going to have to do with the web. We know that there's a lot of complexity on the web, so how do you think about which channels are best utilized for communicating with your audiences? At one end of the spectrum we have very context-rich environments and others that are context poor, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. And some channels are highly interactive and other channels have low interactivity. Let's take a look at some of the common channels that we see on the internet. If we look at something like Twitter, it's highly interactive, but there's very little context. You have 140 characters. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the video, which is very context-rich, but not a lot of interaction with video. Now, there are other forms of video that are more interactive, things like Ustream, and desktop sharing like Skype can also be brought into the more highly interactive realm. So the idea here is you can lay out the spectrum of different internet channels across interactivity and the level of context. Once we've done that, we can start to think about this from a marketer's perspective and ask the question, what's our potential reach for these different audiences? And the bigger the bubble, the bigger the reach. So let's take a look. This might be the reach for one particular company. And you can see that with things like paid search, doesn't have a lot of context, not a lot of interactivity, but there's a great big reach that we can use, that we can access through things like Google and Bing to get to our audiences. Our website also has a pretty good reach. On the other hand, we may have one-on-one conversations that we facilitate through Skype. So the reach may not be as huge or as big, but it can be very targeted. NWK refers to networking. You could also have speaking engagements. So we do have some offline communication channels indicated in here as well. Now, suppose we want to add some additional information in here. What good are these channels? That is, what purpose can these channels actually serve us? So I've added in here some color coding, things like point of view, educating audiences, demonstrating expertise. These are different reasons that people might use these internet channels, and there may be primary relationships. Sometimes there are more than one particular use of a channel, and in fact the reality is, of course, there are many different uses of each of the internet communication channels, but for the purposes of a given campaign you might want to emphasize one primary function for a particular channel. So let's go back and look at our interactive channels and add the color into the mix. All of a sudden you get a very rich spectrum of what kinds of communication channels are available to us. So from here, I may want to start thinking about what kind of campaign I would put in place to reach a particular audience. We use something called personas to help you understand your tribe. These personas really look at the why, the motivation, and the drivers of the individuals, the demographics of the individuals, where they hang out, the social structures, and the specific channels where we can find them. And what's the culture? What's the etiquette? How best to interact with these individual personas? You may have multiple personas that you're trying to reach with your campaigns. And this is using a framework from something called integral theory, a model called AQUAL, which I could cover in another podcast or screencast if people are interested. So let's go back now and craft a custom campaign for reaching a strategist. A strategist, we may want to establish our credentials, we want to establish our point of view, and we want to educate. So you see the yellow for education, you see the gray for establishing our credentials through speaking and things like LinkedIn, and you see some blogging. And of course we do want to convert, so you'll see some green on the website and through external links into the environment. And the red indicates some level of relationship building, but it's really targeted, really focused. The person indicates the level of investment we want to make across these different channels. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on how you might use this framework to put together your own campaign to reach your tribes, reach your audiences. Thanks again. Skip Shuda, Team in a Dream. Have a great day.